I never thought working at Wetherspoons would be so harrowing. It started as a normal job, a means to pay my bills while I looked for something better. But it wasn't long before the restaurant's sinister secrets began to unravel, and I found myself trapped in a chilling web of suspense and dread. Wetherspoons was an imposing building, nestled at the heart of the city. Its grand façade bore witness to decades of fine dining and impeccable service. Patrons from all walks of life would flock to the restaurant to experience its renowned cuisine. But little did they know, behind the polished silverware and crystal chandeliers lay an abyss of horrors. I had been working at Wetherspoons for a few months when I first began to notice the oddities. It was a bitterly cold winter evening, and the restaurant buzzed with activity. The guests were in high spirits, laughter and conversation filling the air. As I carried a tray laden with plates to one of the tables, I couldn't help but catch snippets of their conversations. "They say this place is haunted," one diner whispered to another.
I scoffed silently to myself.
The rumors of a haunting were old tales, nothing more than the product of overactive imaginations and late-night drinking. But as the evening wore on, I began to feel an inexplicable unease. The ambiance of the restaurant changed. It wasn't something you could put your finger on, but it was as if a dark cloud had settled over the place. The laughter and chatter of the diners became hushed, their faces growing tense, their eyes darting around nervously. I approached one of the veteran waitstaff, Emily, to ask if she had ever experienced anything strange in the restaurant. Her face grew solemn as she looked at me. "You'll learn soon enough," was all she said before hurrying off to attend to her tables. My unease only deepened. I started noticing peculiarities. Silverware and glassware would vanish and reappear in odd places. Tables would be perfectly set one moment, and then in complete disarray the next. The kitchen staff whispered about strange sounds emanating from the cellar, like distant whispers and footsteps. One evening, as I was clearing a table near the bar, I felt a hand brush against my shoulder. I turned around, expecting to find a fellow employee, but there was no one there. The dining room had grown eerily silent, the guests frozen in place, their eyes fixed on me. Their expressions mirrored my own fear. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the moment passed, and the diners resumed their conversations, as if nothing had happened. But I knew something was terribly wrong. I confided in Emily, hoping for answers. She took me aside and spoke in hushed tones. "This place has a dark history, you know," she said, her voice trembling. "Decades ago, it was a haven for secret meetings, shady deals, and all sorts of unsavory activities. They say that the shadows of those who did wrong here still linger, trapped within these walls." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Shadows? You can't be serious." Emily nodded, her eyes filled with dread. "I've seen them, fleeting glimpses of figures in old-fashioned attire, moving through the dining room when no one else is around. And the whispers, the whispers from the cellar. They speak of regret, betrayal, and vengeance." I tried to dismiss her words as the product of an overactive imagination, but as the days passed, I couldn't ignore the growing feeling of dread that clung to the restaurant like a suffocating fog. One night, as I was closing up the restaurant, I decided to investigate the cellar. I couldn't shake the curiosity that had been gnawing at me. Armed with a flashlight, I descended the creaking stairs into the darkness below. The air grew colder with each step, and a sense of foreboding settled over me. The cellar was a labyrinth of dimly lit rooms, filled with dusty old barrels and crates. I followed the eerie whispers, which seemed to emanate from deeper within. My heart pounded in my chest as I ventured further, my flashlight flickering ominously. And then I saw them. Shadows, just as Emily had described, flickering and dancing on the walls. I couldn't make out their features, but I could sense their anguish, their anger, their longing for something I couldn't comprehend. I stumbled backward, trying to flee the cellar, but the door slammed shut with a deafening crash. Panic surged through me as I tugged at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers grew louder, echoing in the darkness, suffocating me. I don't know how long I was trapped down there, surrounded by those tormented shadows and their haunting whispers. It felt like an eternity, a descent into madness. But eventually, the door creaked open, and I scrambled out, gasping for air. I quit my job at Wetherspoons the next day, unable to bear the haunting presence of the restaurant any longer. I never returned, and I tried to put the experience behind me, convincing myself that it was all a fevered nightmare. Years passed, and I moved on with my life, but the memory of Wetherspoons and its sinister secrets never truly left me. I heard that the restaurant had closed down, its grandeur faded into obscurity. And yet, in the dead of night, I would sometimes hear the faintest of whispers, a reminder that some secrets are never truly laid to rest. To this day, I wonder about the shadows that lurked in the darkness of Wetherspoons and the horrors that they carried with them. I hope that they have found peace, but I fear that their malevolent presence still lingers, waiting to ensnare anyone who dares to step foot into that accursed place.